how is digital transformation accelerating at the Land Registry? And what opportunities do you see for investment in digital processes across the sector?
It's great to be here today because one of the things that we've just released at the Land Registry is our new strategy 2025 plus, which is our perspective of how we are going to develop and build the Land Registry to support customers' needs going over the next 3 years. So we recently completed our spending review. We therefore went in with a lot of transformational projects that we wanted to deliver to support our aim to make customer services easier and to make sure that those services were something that was much more intuitive, I think, than perhaps the process had been in before. So it's a fantastic time for us. And I would say this, it's a really good read. And I think if you read it for the first time, you'll realize that though we are talking digital today, Rob, what's really great about how the Land Registry and our technology partners and our teams internally, they're really listening to the customers. And our chair has made it absolutely clear that we have to listen to the customers, to the market to deliver that. So that's the first thing I wanted to say. Second thing is, I think we all know about the benefits of automation and AI, about how that can make services easier. And listening to Simon, I'm sure that we have already spoken to you about the ways that we are building in services and products into our partners who engage directly with us. And I'm sure, Joanne, you've had many discussions with our teams as well. So there's a lot of work going on there. I think the word that we're really focusing on right now is how do we validate data before it comes into the system? And I think that's the big digital forefront for us, because I talk about applications that are correct and complete, but if we do achieve that, the number of requisitions will reduce dramatically, because we won't be asking you, dare I say it, and never being a conveyancer, I always worry about saying this, the easier questions, getting the name right, getting the address right, making sure that the right documents are being attached. That's where I see our immediate digital approach, but also into automation of services. At the moment, my colleagues who do casework look at everything that comes through the organization. But we have, in the last 12 months, managed to start automating applications coming through using technology. And that's exactly where we see a bonus coming forward. It's a bonus in terms of the speed that we can operate at. Also, we can operate 24/7 in that respect. But it's also a bonus, I think, I would hope, for everybody who works in submitting to the Land Registry. No one likes getting requisitions. We don't like sending them out. So it's a perfect storm where we can use digital to make lives easier for everybody. And as you apply to the Land Registry, we should be able at that point to spot those mistakes and say, actually, could you just refocus on that area? Because that, when you've got the file open, and Rob, I know you as a conveyancer, no one wants to go back to a file a week later, let alone a month later or longer. So I think it's a really good part of our journey is to make those digital projects and services available.
Thanks, Roger. Well, I haven't been called a conveyancer for about 20 years now, but I'll take it anyway. It's nice to be in that fold still.
Absolutely.
Any of the other panelists, do you have any particular points or questions or comments on what Roger has just said?
I think what's really interesting, Roger has mentioned the new strategy 2025 plus. What's really interesting, actually quite striking in terms of the shift is, first of all, AI in particular seems to be quite a center of the future vision, and it's not just about automating processes. We're actually moving much further. We're talking about using AI for decision making, and that's probably one of the fundamental things that actually is going to propel a lot of processes behind the scenes. Actually, we may not necessarily appreciate as much today, but the change is coming.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? I've got another question for Roger. If not, no problem.
Yeah, I think whilst we're talking about post-completion, I think we have a kind of a little motto internally, I guess, with our post-completion team. It's not necessarily post-completion problems that we have, it's almost pre-exchange problems. And I think what, Roger, you were alluding to with those minor discrepancies, or minor inverted commas, I guess, of the middle names being missing, or a letter being different on the title to the transfer, is we should be able to spot those. We should be able to make sure they're correct before they go to the Land Registry. So yes, there's work the Land Registry are clearly doing, and it's all welcome. But I think also the main thing is, as conveyancers and as law firms dealing with the thousands of transactions we do every year, is also what we can do to help the Land Registry. And I think that's really important as well. So
Yeah.
Simon, I'll just pick up on that. I think equally it's responsible on the land registry. That's why we have a customer training team. We're trying to supply, our advice on what we need to see, how we need to see it, but we're not just expecting it at the gateway. I think our responsibility to the process is in the supplying of anything that we can do in terms of checklists, of training, of access to our experts in our seminars. It's about creating that partnership, and it's lovely the way you talk about it. It's not about this the relationship just as you submit. It should be a partnership which spreads right across that process, because I think the more we understand each other, the better we can build our services and move forward. It's not just digital. I think it's about getting that human part right as well.
I agree.
Yeah, and I think just to add to what both Roger and Simon have just said, I think one of the areas that's really we find is quite often overlooked is the quality of the data and the documents that the firms hold. So, I mean, you can have the best tech in the world, but if the data isn't going in a consistent format, you're not going to get the full benefit, So we've seen firms get great results just by tightening up naming conventions, version control, using consistent internal templates, and we think those that invest in these good habits now will find that digital change much smoother.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Dill. So Roger, what should firms be aware of in terms of the timeline for mandatory API migration by 2026, and how are you supporting the transition?
I think for people who work directly with our portal system, they don't need to worry too much about APIs, because APIs are basically a link between systems, to put it very simply. Yeah. I think for those companies that are directly linked in, so if they're using the TM group, or Simon, if you're directly into our systems, we're clear that we need to have the best services we can. So our API first strategy, firstly, is we're moving. Well, this is getting a bit techie here, Joanne, so you better jump in and help me. But one of the things we're doing is we're moving to RESTful, which is a better AP infrastructure and the way we do things. So that's number one. And that means that we're having, hopefully, the best way of coding those relationships, of building those links, and building that between the land registry and anybody who wants to engage directly. There's a benefit there for everybody who doesn't click directly, because those APIs are going to be used to build the portal service as well. So rather than us having two systems, one that's at the portal and it's programmed one way, and a set of APIs that are programmed another way, again, we're coming down, we're streamlining into one set of technology. So I think that's really clear. To come back to our customer point, we've worked really clearly with customers. I think the great thing about the API project that we're running at the moment is how we're working directly with customers. We've got some early adopters now. So though we have, as you absolutely right said, Rob, we're looking to get everybody onto this new technology as soon as possible. And also we have put down a date that we would like people to no longer use the other APIs and move over. It's not a case where we have built it and we expect. We're building it in partnership with those early adopters. We're learning. We've built sandpits now. So if you are somebody who wants to look at APIs, there is a place for you to try in safety. And again, I think that's a very sort of distinct change within the land registry, that we're very keen to provide that security. Also, there's a team of people who will just talk API, and I think we're all absolutely clear that I'm not one of them, but that are there to support people like Simon and Joanne, who are more technically minded about, well, what can we do and what can't we do? And I would say the last thing is, and Simon and Joanne has backed me off this, the group, it's called the Business Gateway Group, so it's an internal group. But one of the things that they do, Simon and Joanne, is they actually have an ability to vote up what they would like the APIs to do next. And again, that's just so listening to our customers and actually aligning our needs. So that's where I think we're working in terms of what we're going and how we're moving forward. And last thing is, I don't think API is ever going to be stopped. I think it's a journey we're on together. And I think as an organization, again, that's another step forward in how we're thinking. Evolution can't just be a program that stops. APIs has to be a program that just continues to develop what we call modern casework, and how that works both in terms of technology, but also how the technology can call upon the expertise of the people who work here as well. So it's a really balanced approach about the best technology, but it's not going to be suddenly stopping. It's going to be evolving, but it also has the heart of the people, and the people that I think you will trust in terms of the way they review the work that comes in, really making sure that I don't want you to think they aren't part of the process. They are, but we're going to use technology as much as we can to streamline and make the most efficient work we can with our partners.
Okay, thanks. Well, rather remarkably, we're nearly halfway through this first session. I've got a couple more points I'll just raise with you before we move on to Joanna. Um, I'll try and roll these 2 points into one here. I think they make sense together. Enhanced pre-submission checks, such as API deed matching, are a major change. How will these improve accuracy and reduce errors in applications? And do you expect these changes to significantly reduce requisitions overall? And what outcomes are you hoping firms will see as a result?
So let me start with an apology, because I want to do this. The backlog, as you know, has been a major issue, and I think I think it's very important. Though I'm talking here about what we're doing now, I think I should admit and recognise the great patience that the industry has showed towards us on this, and it's not something we're happy with, and we want to move forward. But in terms of the APIs, I think it's an incredibly exciting time. If you use Portal now, those APIs are already in place. The validation is already in place, and it's already working. If you're working with the API route, we have delivered all the APIs that we are going to use that match these, what we call administrative error checks. They're already in place, they're there, the technology is there, and then it's working with people like Joanne and Simon and their colleagues to see when they can fit to put them into the services. I think they'll address errors before they're submitted, which I think is good news for anyone. We've already been using them, as I say, in our portal, and we've seen substantial changes. The one area that we see a lot of work on, it's names. You mentioned it, Adil, earlier, that the names just don't match. And I would be clear that what we don't do is we don't give you the answer. One of the things that you'll see because of fraud, we never want to be the one going, actually, here's the answer. You never needed to get it right, because that wouldn't be right for you or us. So in terms of what we're seeing now on our portal, we're seeing great movement in terms of lowering those administrative, those what we call avoidable requisitions, and the portal's doing that. For our business gateway customers, that's happening already, and I think, as you know, they are large conveyances, so we're going to see a lot of reduction in those type of issues, and I think it'll only get better from then going forward. And as we do know, we publish requisition figures, we put them out there, and I think that it will be fantastic for the industry to start checking itself against those numbers and seeing them going down. But frankly, you don't want to keep score. Faster requisitions, more control over the requisitions because they go in, they're better, and you're saving money because you're not dealing with requisitions. We're not sending you requisitions. That will be the benchmark of when it's working or not because the requisitions have gone down, but because people like Simon and the clients of Joanne really feel that they're moving faster in the process of actually getting their houses or transfers or whatever they're doing onto the register as quickly as possible. That speed's, I think, going to be the benchmark of success.
Okay, thanks, Roger, and thank you for mentioning the elephant in the room, the B word, very briefly. At least we've covered that off. Just very quickly then, finally, looking ahead, what practical steps can firms take now to prepare their teams and systems for these changes?
I think there's two things they can do, and again, it breaks down into our two subsets. One, if you're working with the APIs, if you're a business gateway customer, you're going to be building technology. And I think as we don't know the steps and your technology flow intimately, that's going to have to be the people like Simon and Joanne working with their teams and how they build that offering. I think for the teams that are working on Portal where they're already in place, it's about not getting caught by those errors coming up and slowing down the process. So we have a complete list of all the things that we're now validating beforehand, and you can find that on our website. And also there is the training suite within the customer training hub. There is also the work that we do in terms of our seminars and things of that nature, because in the same way as when you work with other services, it shouldn't be something where we keep flagging, that's a mistake, that's a mistake, that's a mistake. The way to make this work is for us to help everybody just input applications which are complete, which are correct. The checks will happen in the background, which will make it faster and easier for everybody. And at the end of the day, the application will go straight through. If we're still flagging everything that's a mistake, that's going to become frustrating for everybody. And that's not the best way to do it. The best way to do it is to build a seamless, frictionless relationship, but with that validation on submission, which makes, I think, a better experience for everybody, but fundamentally makes better business efficiency and a better, faster land registry.